start with roll call.
President Barbara Dawkins.
Present.
Vice President Liz Eva.
Here.
Treasurer Christine Wallman.
Here.
Myself, Pat Price. Douglas Carroll.
Here.
Rebecca Lopez, absent. Richard Miller.
Present.
Elizabeth Gordon.
Present.
Jesse Stoneback, absent. And Doreen Thomas.
Yeah, I knew, I didn't hear from Doreen tonight. I think she'll be coming. Okay, any additions to the agenda tonight? Any changes? Okay, can you make a motion to accept the agenda?
I move we accept the agenda.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the agenda is approved, and we have, I printed out the minutes. Everybody had a chance to look over the minutes. So we had, I have them in my bag here. We had June, September, November, and December minutes. And everybody gave a vote on the minutes then for approval.
We approve those minutes.
All in favor? All opposed? Okay, so those minutes are all approved, and I'll get them up on the website. And we'll start with council public announcements. Any announcements from council? I was going to say there were two fires in White Center today, and one on our street, 20th, and pretty lot of damage in the house. And then at a commercial spot on 15th, the big fire at a blacksmith, the old blacksmith place. So it was kind of, yeah, so,
Next to what's that they
yeah.
It's considered that they may have gotten slipped in for all the products somewhere else.
Oh,
That's why.
that would be a, what house on your street?
Same one.
One the
5 years ago.
Oh.
I saw it on the blog, it said on 20th, north of 102nd, so I called my husband and said, it's not our house. It's not our house. So, okay, so any comments from the audience? Dick, I know that you wanted to speak tonight.
My name is Dick Thurnon, and this is Marcia Wolfman. And we're going to talk about litter in our community. Marcia's going to give a little presentation on it, and I did a little photography, a little area, a short area around, not bad. And I'm going to test these pictures and we'll see if you can get an idea. Does that look like what's happening?
Okay, we won't be too long on this, but we just kind of wanted to bring litter back into focus because it seems to be a background issue in this neighborhood, which it has been, of course, for decades. Kind of like the wallpaper on your computer where it's there, but you don't really pay attention. And we wanted to have more discussions about it to bring up more ideas for solutions. Ideally, we would like to see every citizen that is able-bodied out picking up litter, because there's nobody that's paid to do that in this neighborhood. Marion has some crews that are paid to do this, and we don't have anyone paid here. It's just us. The Department of Corrections, as we know, does pick up litter in White Center in the business area once a week, but that's a drop in the bucket compared to all the litter that's on the arterials and the residential streets. It's there every day. It's an everyday problem. We'd like to get some young people engaged, especially students, so we're working with the schools. We have some meetings coming up about that. There are some students that are interested, but a lot of the time it's not considered cool to pick up litter, so they don't do it, if it is at all in their minds to do it. But also young people I need the example of adults. And if they don't see any adults out picking up litter, they're going to say, why are you asking us to do it? It would be do as I say, but not as I do. Kids don't really react to that very well. So besides just looking trashy, litter adds to the crime in this area. As you probably know, it's really a forerunner to the broken window scenario. So the criminals come in and scope out the neighborhood, see the trash, and say, yeah, nobody's paying attention here, nobody cares about this, this is prime real estate for us. So we'd like to get away from that image of the trashy look, which is the Rats City moniker idea. Because really, it just takes everybody's work every day. And spring clean is a nice thing, but that's once a year, and litter happens every day here. So one of the things that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention, if they don't know it, is that litter not only lowers the property values because the neighborhood looks trashy, but it also increases your property taxes. And you may say, well, now how does that happen? Well, if you look on your property tax bill, there's something called the SWIM fee, SWM, the Surface Water Management Fee. And that's the money we all pay to the county to take care of the surface runoff, everything that runs off from impervious surfaces. Now that fee has been going up gradually over the years. Part of the reason is litter goes down the storm drain. Now if you live in the city of Seattle, they have one pipe that takes all of the water, sewer and storm water. So when it gets to the end point, they have to separate out all that non-degradable stuff, and it goes to a separate place. But in our area, we have two separate drainages. We have sewer and we have stormwater. And that might sound on the surface like a good thing. What that means is this stormwater doesn't get any treatment. It goes right out to the Sound. Or some other body of water, depending on where the drain is. Possibly the Duwamish, some other lakes and bodies of water that are surface. But most of it goes into the Sound. Last year, 6 tons went into the Sound. So that fee is gradually going up. And I look back at my own property taxes, and that SWIM fee in 2004 was $102. So everybody here probably got that same assessment. 2012 it was up to $133. 2013 $151. This year it will be $171.50. And part of the reason is all of this litter keeps increasing, and that's one of the things that the county has to deal with somewhere along the line. Now, of course, this fee goes to a lot of other things. There's toxins that go into streams that they're trying to mitigate, and agricultural runoff, certain projects that they have to work on, maintenance of the aging infrastructure. But the litter is a big component. And just to give you kind of a physical idea, when you think about litter and you think, oh, well, there's some bottles laying over there in the gutter, you know, and I'm not going to pick that up. Well, this won't go down the drain, but after it's in the street a few days, this goes down the gutter because now it's flat. The same thing with this. This won't go a few days in the street, now it will. Plus all of the millions of little bits of stuff that go down, like cigarette butts, the plastic versus the fiber kind of cigarette butts. That litter stuff accumulates, and when it gets to the Sound, the creatures there will ingest it. They don't know that it's not food. So it's poisoning them, besides trashing up our water. So we say that we would hope that everyone would look at their area, in front of their house or their apartment, pick the litter up when they see it, and don't just walk around it because you think that's somebody else's job, because it's really no one else's job. One of the Puget Sound keepers, who's a woman, has a boyfriend that is from Germany. He's recently come over here, and she said they have a whole different ethic about keeping their area clean, and he is baffled by what he sees in this neighborhood. And I thought, yeah, that's probably true, but the other thing is, what kind of an image and message are we giving to the immigrant populations that come here? They see, oh, this is the way Americans are, I guess we'll just join in. They may not be contributing to it, but they're not picking it up either. So we want to get the message that this is really not acceptable, and we hope that you down and pick up litter. I would recommend one of these. It's foldable, you can take it easily. It's got nice grippers that you can pick up small things with. There are other versions of this that have a pincer, but that's not as effective. You can get for about $10, places like Harbor Freight or the hardware store. And you just carry it with you. I mean, if you're out walking your dog, carry an extra bag in one of these and just pick it up. That would make a huge difference if everybody did that. Because remember, when you see litter going down the drain, think money going down the drain, because your SWIM fee is going to keep going up. Thanks for listening. I got my rant.
Marcia,
Yes.
just a couple points of clarification. I couldn't agree with you more, of course. I drew a lot of litter pickup. But one is that spring cleaning isn't really anymore. No, starting last
Doesn't spring
year.
clean doesn't exist anymore?
Well, it kind of spread it out over a period of time, and it wasn't the kind of big community event that it has been. I don't know if they're going to be doing it this year or not. And the other thing is that if you have specific trash to pick up, if you let Vaughn know, the DOC crew will come out away from downtown.
Oh, we do call them, because some of the things are such huge piles, I
Okay.
can't pick it up.
I had it with me all day today, so.
Yeah,
Paul's not here today, but I can complain a little bit. He doesn't forget, he does forget his mistakes too.
It's
You
really
have to
the-
keep reminding him all the time.
It's the day-to-day litter that is really the big issue. It's
No, I
not,
understand.
even though the big piles are unsightly,
Yeah.
it's the day-to-day stuff. It's
I agree.
corrosive, yeah.
Yep, you got it.
Yeah, we've had a couple of meetings.
Just, okay.
Yeah, anyway.
Just-
Ask.
Okay, if there's litter, I live at 18th and Roxbury, the northwest corner of the city side. But by the way, if there's litter around there, does it make the property values go down?
Well, if you were driving by, would you want to buy a house that had trash around it?
No, but my taxes are so damn high, I'm just kidding, no, but no, I go out all the time, and I have one of those, but I have one that's a claw thing.
Okay, well, whatever works. If you
And
have one, that's
that,
good.
it does, because I'm a vulnerable spot, because I'm right next to the church, to the park and ride, and it's not the parishioners at Holy Family, and it's not anybody else, it's some of their ducks, you know, that,
Throwing out of their car and stuff.
oh, all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, thank you.
I had a question.
Yes.
In some of your discussions with the school, is there anything like Principal Garcia or any of the teachers that might be willing to use this tool on
I've met
lunch
four
breaks?
different principals in Cascade who brought this problem up, plus vice principal of Evergreen. I talked to the school. Oh, we got deputies over there. We got a new deputy over there. They can't do much either. I don't know.
No, I was just thinking of being, the adult,
Well,
setting the example.
we also attended the board meeting the other day. We attended the board meeting, and the superintendent was there too.
Yeah, they didn't have any.
Not a word from him. Marcia gave her presentation. So it's a big problem. We just want to bring it up, so.
Yeah, I want to add, Dale Constantine is going to be here on Monday to give his state of the county address at White Center Heights Elementary at 10 o'clock in the morning. And the King County Council is having a meeting there after that. And I did notice some areas that hadn't been cleaned up in a while, suddenly cleaned up. And I didn't know if it was just coincidence. So people are coming to the community or what? I asked Ron about it and he didn't seem to know anything. But right-of-ways have been mowed that haven't been touched in 2 years. And this one property near us, near where I live on 100, was completely picked up. I mean, Christina area where we cleaned up that time a couple of years ago, then I cleaned it up again. And I mean, you had to shovel the sidewalk, it was so bad. And it was spick and span. And I don't know who did it. So, it's interesting.
Yeah, when we were having an admiral board on the ship, it got clean in a second, and we went right back to norm, so I know what you're talking about. They knew he was coming.
We don't know, maybe it was coincidence. But they are going to be here at the White Center Heights Elementary on Monday. BJ. Next up, your friend.
Hi there. Let me address my vision. Broke my glasses today when I was helping one of my fellow deputies over a fence, and he slipped back and his taser popped me in the face and broke my glasses. It's okay. I have Deputy Britannia riding with me. She's my driver, so I don't have a
Yay!
That's right. So, a couple things. I followed up with the fire department this morning when I got in about the 2 fires they had. No one was hurt at any of those fires. I guess the damage, they sort of surmised that the damage at the blacksmith shop wasn't that bad. The house out there on the street was pretty bad. and that they don't know what the cause of those fires are yet. We have had a continued really high number of stolen vehicles in the neighborhood again this last month. And so one thing that, there doesn't seem to be a consistent way that they're being stolen. And so when I was thinking about things that would be useful to pass along, sometimes these vehicles are stolen and then the owner realizes they're stolen within moments and calls us and says that they just discovered their vehicle stolen. It's probably stolen within the last few minutes. That information is really useful to deputies in the field because that it can be broadcast to everybody from here to SeaTac, and all of a sudden they're all looking for a green 1999 Ford Mustang. And we find a lot of vehicles when people realize that their vehicles were just stolen. One problem that we run into in that scenario is that people don't know their license plate numbers. And so they call with useful information and able to describe their vehicle, but they don't know their license plate number, which allows us to make sure that we know exactly what year it is, whether there's a model that's a little different than maybe you realized. That the license plate info carries a lot of detail with it that's helpful for us. So one thing, I know I have my license plates memorized, but they change pretty often now. And so one thing that's useful to do is with everyone that has these camera phones now, that you're going to almost always have on your pocket or in your purse when your car is stolen, to just simply have a photograph of your license plate only on there, so that you can look it up if you need help recalling it. If it's just that license plate, it's not any information that you need to be worried about if you say your phone is stolen and then someone has your license plate info. That's not really a big deal. There's not much that they could do with that. So the risk of having that information lost, if your phone is lost, isn't real high. The value that's gained by being able to tell the 911 call receiver exactly what your license plate info is, and not be having difficulty recalling it in a stressful moment when your car is stolen, is really useful. So that's a tip that I would pass along. In Burien, last week or maybe the week before, the Burien Police Criminal Investigations Unit served a search warrant on a house related to mail theft. Yeah, it was an investigation that they had been, they arrested someone who kind of opened their eyes to the links that this person had to mail theft around here. They served a search warrant on a house, made one arrest, I believe, in addition to the first one that led them to the house, and recovered bags and bags and bags of stolen property from the house. They're still going through that to kind of make connections and start to notify people about it. It's good news for a couple reasons. There are victims that are going to be alerted to the fact that they were victims, for one, and that if they already knew that they were victims, that fortunately the police now have some of their information instead of these people. Also, we believe that the suspects that were involved there are connected to other people that steal mail in the area. So it gives us some information, as well as sends them a message that mail theft is something that we will kick in a front door for, which is what they did. So it was a lot of hard work on the part of the Burien Police Department, and they have a lot of hard work still to go with the amount of evidence they recovered. But it's great to see something like that can be a really disruptive crime that doesn't always get all the attention that Burien's giving it. And my last point was, we've had a couple weird reports over the last month at the Safeway on Roxbury of someone coming up and opening doors on cars while they're being filled up. So in these cases, the person that was filling up the vehicle had stepped away. In one case, a purse was stolen out of the car. In another case, there was a child in the car that kind of spooked the person that had opened the door, and so the guy left. So we're not really sure what that's about, but that's alarming. So please be aware when you're filling up there or anywhere else that you keep an eye on your belongings and on your car as much as you can. Certainly if you have valuables in the car, like children, that you keep eyes on what's going on. The only description that we had on those was a white male in his 20s with real short or like bald hair. But that's not real great to go on. And in a couple of the cases, we didn't even see who it was. So that's just odd. I hadn't quite seen that, and especially seeing it a couple times over the same month. So please just be aware of that. I think those were all my eligible questions and answers.
Go ahead. Yo.
Sorry, I can't see everybody.
Yeah, I hope that they can find, but I've been around 4 times on the wood side. I hope they find something down there. Return.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the first thing they do is go through and start looking through our own systems to see if serial numbers or item descriptions match the stuff that they have, and then they'll start working on getting that back. Yeah.
And most of the time you get license, driver's license.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
But this has been several years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any video from the Safeway police station?
Not on the reports that I saw. I don't know whether, and I don't know the circumstances of why we didn't have it. No.
What's the latest on log camps? Came to attention again, I was corresponding with Dan, and he said that there's a couple camps that seem to be hanging around the 98th Street corridor. And also there was a thing on the TV the other night out in East King County, and they had someone who was responsible for maintaining it, I don't know who it was. And they were taking the TV crew around, and the camps looked just like the ones we have here. And they're heroin camps, treating up heroin. And then I can locate, they said, near food banks and sources of beer. Anyway, what's the latest on our own locals?
Jeez. The latest is that south end of that area
Yeah, I know.
got cleared really well. And they did a good job clearing brush away, clearing almost all of the garbage that was back there out, and then sort of building in kind of a trail or a pathway that they could get equipment in there better in the future so that the next cleanup goes more smoothly. They weren't able to do the same kind of treatment north of the stairway, so the camps that we've seen pop back up are the ones north of the stairway. It's a couple of the same people. We've run them out again. Usually they'll just abandon what they have in there and then set up again a couple days later once they think that no one's looking again.
Do you notice are any of those folks hanging out downtown too?
Yeah, they all hang out downtown.
And they're new, I mean, they're not the regulars
Oh, they are regulars.
that have always been around?
Yeah, most of the people that are in there now are a little younger. So they haven't been around, not juveniles certainly, but not the crowd that's been here for decades. But it is the same people that are out on 15th during the day just hanging out.
These days, have anything done about traffic enforcement?
I don't know. I know that the sheriff has talked about that as a priority when they can start building it back into the budget, but I don't know what the prospect is on that.
That's a whole different story.
It is a whole different story. Yeah.
But is your new partner burning off the carbon off the pistons the way you lug that thing around White Center? Have this happen every couple of weeks, you know. Anyway.
Is that a speeding complaint?
No. I got stopped on that freeway for going too slow.
Oh.
You know, I mean, out the Burien Freeway. Of course, it was Port of Seattle police, and I told them I was the next longshoreman. No problem. You got a jug underneath your seat? Here, have one. I just got one off the ship. No problem. You're a different story.
I gotta go
You're
on
gonna
shorts.
be, yeah.
I participated in the one night count again.
How was it?
It was good. My bong sends me into the woods every time. He drives
Nobody else
around.
wants to go there.
Yeah. So I was doing the woods between Myers Way and 509,
Oh,
which was empty. It's not always empty. And I know that part of that is because this is the time of year that we do the homeless count. If they did this homeless count in the summer, the numbers would be way different.
Yeah.
Especially when it's.
But I understand that like some of those people that are homeless in the summer may go places in the winter time. So I don't, anyways, it was pretty empty out there. We probably counted 5 or 6 people in that whole long stretch. And a couple of them had some shelters built that indicated they'd been there for a long time. The group that was doing the count for the rest of White Center, that was driving around the vehicle, only counted 1 person sleeping outdoors. And so that's the official number that got reported. I know that's not right. So I'm going to argue that next year I should be allowed to not be in the woods. And I should drive around where all these people are. So I haven't looked to see what the total numbers were for the White Center area. The blog probably did a better job talking about that stuff. But I know that our numbers out here probably don't reflect what we all see. So hopefully that next time around we can locate a few more people and make that an accurate count. Yeah.
What do you do when you find people? Do you tell them to leave, or do you just let them
Oh,
continue?
for the
cleaning
count?
up? Yeah.
No, we just count.
Okay.
Yeah, it's mostly volunteers, and so they're not equipped in any way to go and ask people to leave. Don't have authority to do that. So it's just people going out and simply trying to count. So they, will explain, hey, we're just out doing a count. In fact, one guy that we ran into back in the woods thought it was cool, and so gave us a tour and showed us some places. He was great, but many times we're counting in the middle of the night, so people are still sleeping, so you don't disrupt them. People are intense. You kind of estimate how many you think are in there and just let it go. That's kind of what they do.
And a lot of people in cars and.
Yeah, there's a lot of car camping around, especially in the winter time. You see a lot of that,
Yeah.
and that's. I know up in Ballard, I was talking to some people that counted up in Ballard, and they have huge numbers
Yeah.
from the car campers up there.
Yeah.
And I know we have a lot more car campers down here, and the people that were doing the count for that area maybe just weren't quite as savvy to count it properly.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing when you go to Ballard now and see how many
Yeah, right.
campers are just lined up.
Right? Yeah.
They don't have any old-fashioned squatter camps anymore. I mean, I'm not Dick's age, but I'm old enough to remember when I was a kid, there's kids right down there, and they had regular stuff that was made out of railroad ties.
Uh-huh.
They were the old squatter guys, and now they went into drugs though. They had bottles they like to drink, those horns, but I don't see any. I mean, there's none of that old-fashioned, river squatter camps operated by a railroad trestle or.
Yeah, not here. Just
Yeah.
Any other questions for me?
That's great, thank you so much, Peter, appreciate it. And hope you get your glasses fixed.
Yes, I'm gonna build a county.
So, we're really pleased tonight, we have Hannah Kent from Sustainable Seattle to give us a presentation on what she's doing.
Yeah, it actually counts with the 2 T's at the end, no N, but it's totally fine.
Oh,
No, it's okay, just for future owners, if you're small.
So it's Katie.
TT.
Oh, sorry about that. No problem.
So I'm Hannah, I'm the Neighborhood Programs Manager for Sustainable Seattle. And so we are starting a project at Holy Family, so I thought I'd talk to you guys a little bit about it, because we really want it to be, have the community involved and hopefully spread beyond just the parish and school. So, we, if you haven't heard of us, we're a really small community-based nonprofit that really focuses on the city of Seattle, but expanding a little bit beyond it with our focus. We do a lot of education and on-the-ground projects. And right now, we're doing a lot with rain gardens and green infrastructure. And so we received funding from the King Conservation District to do a rain garden project at the Holy Family Parish and School. And the parish, the fees that we were talking about a little bit earlier, they pay about $18,000 a year in those fees. And so that is a significant amount of money. And one way you can reduce those fees as a large property is by installing things like rain gardens and cisterns, because they help slow the flow of all that water going down the storm drain. And so one of the reasons we're doing this project with them is to help them reduce that fee and to show other big properties ways they can reduce that fee. And it's also to bring a little bit more beauty to that asphalt to blocks that exists over there at Roxbury. So we are really excited. We are going to start testing the soil soon, which sounds really very beginning stages, but it's a big step of seeing how many rain gardens we can install. So I'm going to give you a big picture vision of what we're going to do. So our goal is to install 16 rain gardens on the property, and that will help. That would be 100% infiltration of all the roofs on the property, which is about 30,000 square feet of roofs. You want me to explain what a rain garden is?
Well, and when you say 100% filtration?
Yes, yeah, I can explain it. Yeah, so, sorry, back up. So does anybody know what a rain garden is? Or you guys, so there's just landscape features that help soak in rainwater. And so 100% of the roof rain, the 100% of the rain that falls on the roof would go into a rain garden and soak into the ground, rather than drain off into the stormwater system. So that's what I mean by 100% filtration, which is pretty cool, infiltration. Which is, so that is the goal, the basic goal, and that is the funding that we currently have, is to help that project happen. And we also, there's also some property on the site that isn't going to be used for a rain garden and isn't used by the church currently. And so we are trying to make that into a community garden, both for the parish and the school, so the students would be involved in it, and also for the surrounding neighbors. So that's something the church is willing to do and sort of manage. And it's the property it's right on, what's the 24th, I believe, like the back southwest corner of the property. There's some unused land, so that could become a community garden. So our hope is that so the project will sort of span a couple years, because we can't do all the rain gardens at once. We can't build a community garden all at once, and really, our hope is that the community will get involved and plant, do some planting, and learn about how they can sort of transform their property with this, with these gardens. And we are to help with that process. So we really want to use it as really as a community project, but also as a project to sort of help you, vision what you can do with your yard, and then work with us to sort of get that accomplished. So whether it's a project, another public property in your neighborhood, or whether it's your home, that's sort of what I wanted to talk to you guys. And we will have one of the things. I have a sort of a flyer describing sort of the project and ways you can get involved. But we'll have a greeting committee that will sort of design the project, as well as any follow-on projects that will happen from the parish. And so we are going to meet. The first meeting will be at the end of February. We haven't quite set it yet. But if you're at all interested in learning more about the project, and I will have more pictures and diagrams and things like that at that meeting, and a better set timeline, then just let me know. There will be this sometime. Does anybody have questions? Go ahead.
Are there any groups or individuals from the congregation or from the school that are involved?
Yeah, so the project was not initiated by us, it was initiated by the administrative, the person from the parish. His name is Gary San Diego. And this is, it's actually a rain-wise, which doesn't apply to consideration, so I'm not gonna go into what it is. It's a rain-wise, qualifies for the rain-wise program, which is a city reimbursement program for rain gardens. So he is interested in doing that, and he's interested in installing one rain garden, and now we're installing 16, so we've got to go further. But so he is sort of the lead on the church side, and so we're going to have church volunteers in the green community as well. And then on the school side, we're working with somebody from a group called Sustainability Ambassadors, and they're incorporating the rain garden into their curriculum, into the KA curriculum, and so. There will be, hopefully that'll be a model for other schools in the area. That's his intention, is to spread it to other schools and do more on-the-ground projects with other schools as well, and incorporate it into the curriculum. So,
And does that mean like public schools?
some public schools are always trickier just because of the administration, but his goal is to work with public schools. That is his intention.
And in Seattle, or would that include the North Highline School District?
Yeah, his is a nonprofit, and so his goal is really to work with this whole, like the watershed, not the school district specifically. So this watershed area, so like.
And what's his name?
His name is Peter Donaldson, and I can connect you if you're interested, and he would be definitely interested in talking to anyone.
And who is he with?
He's with a group called Sustainability Ambassadors, but it's his own nonprofit, but he's done a program similar to this in the Tahoma School District, and he's worked with schools for a lot of years, and so this is, but this is the first time he's done it sort of this way. So, Holy Family site. So, go ahead.
The soil that you were talking about, is there a whole lot of soil that has no plants in it right now? Or are you going to take asphalt out or what?
It'll be a combination of both. So the two, like along the property going south from Roxbury, like along the church, there's two huge plots of grass, and those will both be both areas for rain gardens. And then by the old convent, within the church property, there's some grass, and then we'll probably take up some asphalt too next to the school. And then our intention is hopefully once we get past the roof part, is to do more of the asphalt. There's so much asphalt on that property. So, go ahead.
Now, you call them a rain garden, and a garden is, now the community gardens, I understand, in the back, but are these things literally gardens planted, or are they more, is it a drain field, or is it a holding tank that bleeds off controlled rate? How do you, I understand you're going to try to capture the water comes off the roof and get it to soak into the ground, but.
So it's like a swale drain garden. It's a swale garden. So it's just like it's sloped on either side, and they're designed. There's thousands in Seattle now, but they're designed to really. There's a drain pipe that goes directly into the garden from the roof. So that's
So it's
sort of how
a
you
miniature
capture it.
retention pond.
It's like, yeah.
Isolated. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So it's supposed to, it's designed to drain within 24 hours. So after a really heavy rainstorm. Typically it just drains pretty quickly, but with a heavy rainstorm, it's designed to drain within 24 hours.
So what about, as far as if people want to do individual work on their property, is there grant money available in the unincorporated area for that, or?
I mean, that would be something like that we would have to sort of design and plan together. So it's not, there's grant money available, but not from us directly. It would be working with us to, like, if a group of people wanted to go together. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, is this like in back of the Catholic Church? I mean, the Holy, I live right across the street. So all the way down to, 96, 98, this is there.
Yeah, so the two blocks that the Holy Family owns.
Yeah.
Talking about all of that. There'll be different parts on that property that are getting.
You're gonna be a rain garden and you're gonna grow something or something?
Yeah, there's gonna be lots of rain gardens. cisterns.
Gonna say Father Monsignor McGrath, and I know you're not his age, he's turning over in his grave right now. The only thing is though, that he'd say, I know him, he'd say, go marijuana in there, pay it off, and then bring in the wine to the church. I know he would.
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, my daughter goes to Holy Family and I've never heard.
We have not really, yeah, we've not really introduced the project yet because we got the funding a couple months ago. So I'm doing the public flyer this week, so you can receive something in like the next week. So yeah.
I was wondering if maybe you, like I missed last month's parents club meeting and maybe you guys were out talking about it then, or were they gonna have you come to a parents meeting?
So I think they will. So we just started talking to the teachers last month. We did our first in-service with the teachers last month, sort of talking about the project and how the students could be involved. And so right now the teachers are thinking about what is the best way to incorporate, like where is the best place to incorporate this sort of training into the curriculum. Is it science, or is it civics or something like that? Because it does deal with a lot of stormwater, how our city manages stormwater, how our county manages stormwater.
So would that actually decrease, what is it called,
The surface water fees is the,
yeah, service, will that decrease what they pay, or?
So there's something, so the surface water fees are based on the impermeable surfaces on your property. And so right now, including your roof. And so right now, the property has a significant amount of impermeable surfaces, and all the water from that is draining, carrying pollutants like litter and oil from your car and all of these different pollutants down the drain into our waterways. And so when you increase the permeable surfaces, so increase the areas that water can go into, or if you direct your roof water into something like a rain garden, and you do it to certain specifications of the city, you can get things called stormwater credits, and so you can apply for them. And so our goal is to design the rain gardens in such a way that the church can apply for these credits and reduce their fees.
So they're, okay, I didn't realize that they based it on the amount of, because I'm wondering, because there's people in the community who paved everything. And they're not supposed to do that. I mean, they're supposed to not have so much impermeable surface. I don't know how they get away with doing that.
No, either.
Well, does the county have stormwater credits as well?
I don't know, since this is, I haven't,
No, I know, but if an individual,
the individual it's trickier because your fees are, since the fees are lower and like it's like, but you can, I think you can like for reassessment, especially like if you've increased it's just like a different process. The stormwater credits are really for industrial or commercial space. Go ahead.
But so on the property, I don't know if it's church owned because there's a house on it. I think it's individual on the south end of the property.
If that's the one piece they don't own, yeah.
You already have a rain garden in that.
They
in front of the
do.
house, so you don't.
Yeah, so that's the southernmost boundary of the city, and that's the southernmost boundary of the rain line zone. So they're like, they had to like come out and measure it, but yeah, that is the,
And they're featuring last
rain
year.
lines, yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful rain garden.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I'd be really interested to come up and see.
Yeah. So the spring will, and I have a website in here and we'll update it, but we'll have planting days if you like getting your hands dirty or just you want to see what it's going to look like in the end. And then we'll have probably before when it's done, we'll have tours and things like that. And we'll also have more information probably this summer about the community garden because we'll probably do a plot style community garden.
so is there anything that Sustainability Seattle does that connects with what Marcia and Dick talked about litter going down the stormwater drains? And specifically, I'm thinking about like the graphics, that they have in Seattle that say, don't kill the salmon or whatever it
Puget
is.
Sound starts here.
Oh,
Yeah.
So those are, the Puget Sound Starts Here signs are actually put out by the Puget Sound Partnership. So that is not a Seattle specific partnership, that's a Puget Sound wide partnership. So that's definitely like something you can do in your community. We can, we don't do that specifically, but we work with the I'm sort of always willing to do anything that relates to the environment. So our neighborhoods program is really just about doing community building with an environmental focus. So anything you guys want to do that we can help with in this community, like if you wanted to go out and put signs on the sewers or do a stencil on the sewers, that's something we're willing to help out with.
And so if there's things like, because one of the issues that we're dealing with is prevention of alcohol and drug use by youth, middle school and high school youth, and one of the things the health survey has shown is that youth don't feel a real strong attachment to community, and there's also the litter problem, and it's particularly around the parks and the walkways around the schools. And so it just seems, and there's a prevention council at the school made up of students that I believe is going to be speaking with Marcia and Dick about like the health of the parks and things like that. And so it just seems like that there might be, if youth get involved in caring for their environment, that helps build the attachment to the community, and it's like has a number of ripple effects and benefits.
Yeah.
And you all could partner on some level.
Yeah, we could definitely, we definitely help. We definitely do.
Okay, so I know King County's doing a series of rain gardens and that drainage part that goes down
In the Barton area.
the Barton, yeah. And so that's King County that's funding that?
Yeah.
And is that gonna be on private property as well, or do you know anything about that?
I believe it's roadside,
Okay.
my understanding. I haven't seen that, but typically when they do, they're called bioswales, but they're basically roadside rain gardens. And that's what they're doing over there. So it's public property, but it's on residential. But it's a bit funny how the city is divided. So King County and the city of Seattle both manage different parts of the stormwater system within the city of Seattle. So that just happens to be one of the King County managed areas. And so is Highland Park, right next to it.
Right.
It's the city of Seattle. So.
Okay, any questions? Any more questions? No? Thank you very much, Hannah, I appreciate your time, thank you. And so, Grace, come on.
Everybody see me behind this big thing? So, my name is Grace Stiller, and thank you for inviting me to share about Weed Warriors. Weed Warriors is a nonprofit charitable organization that started in 2005, specifically to meet needs of cities and communities that have invasive weed problems. And in 2008, weed was illegal. That's changed a little bit, but there are still invasive plants that are illegal. And how those are governed are first dictated by the state noxious weed board, and then the county weed boards set the priorities according to the state guidelines. They have Class A weeds, which require eradication. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Class B and C have a little bit different categories. And then there's weeds of concern that are not good, but they're not on an official list as far as control or regulation. The brochures that I brought for everybody today, I hope you take them and make good use of them. These are specific weeds in King County. And this neighborhood bullies brochure is what we use for educational outreaches in the school. The name bully for a weed brings up, how an invasive weed reacts in the environment. So this brochure has been used quite a bit. It's descriptive and it has the weeds and the characteristics. And I'm really pleased to present this. This is the 2014 noxious weed list that was first set by the state, and then King County adopts this. It's a long list. There's a lot of invaders out there. And it has the different classifications of A, B, and C, so you actually see the groupings. This was hot off the press today. So we take some of these and know that you're the first to get
Yes.
Thank you. We have a website. We do very little through paper or mailings, and we do have an email list. So if you're interested in any of our activities that we have, please put your name on the email list. We don't share that email list, and you can be taken off at any time. Our website is weedwarriors.us, or it defaults to newcastleweedwarriors.org. Weedwarriors.org was already taken by Kitsap County, so we had to be a little creative. We first started in Newcastle, and that's why we have the newcastleweedwarriors.org. We worked with Bellevue, we worked with Renton, and we're hoping to work over here on this side because I live in Period now, so thank you. Everybody has a weed problem, and the weeds are so prolific out there, it's just impossible for cities, communities to do it on their own. And so the nonprofit Weed Warriors is charitable in that our activities benefit the city, benefit the communities. We work only in public places, trails, parks, open spaces. We don't do private property or anything like that. All of it is for the communities and for the county. I'm part of EcoNet, and EcoNet is a coalition of the 12 counties around Puget Sound that are addressing the Puget Sound Starts Here issues. And so when I heard Martha talk about the litter, I had that same concern. And I know Peter Donaldson, so I recommend that you get hooked up with him. He's great. He has a way with kids that's just supernatural. And I know you wouldn't be disappointed if you decide to do something with him too. And with the EcoNet Coalition, we're all plugged into issues that affect Puget Sound, affect our environment. We're all pretty much on the same page, but we have different interests, from rain gardens to noxious weeds to fresh rivers and stream, the quality of water. So in our coalition, we share ideas. We come together as different nonprofits to set strategic plans, how to change behaviors that benefit all of Puget Sound. So it's a really fun group to belong to and feel like you're making a big difference for the greater community. And that's how I found out about a program that King County has for the unincorporated areas for fully addressing the noxious weed issues. And so that was thank you to EcoNet and their effectiveness. For those of you that don't know, the Puget Sound Partnership was mandated by the governor, and I think they have like a $12 million budget to address the issues in Puget Sound. Puget Sound is in trouble. Now, all the effort that we're doing now is just maintaining. We haven't been able to reverse the loss of, so we have had in the past 37 salmon runs. There's 17 that exist now. The others were extinct. So that kind of gives you an idea of Puget Sound and the dire straits that we're facing. So Weed Warriors is one small part of that with addressing the noxious weed issues. And so along with removing the weeds, we also restore habitat by replanting the native species that stabilize the environment and help the wildlife, and also mitigate the rainwater that goes down the drains into Puget Sound. The nonprofit is managed by a working board. We don't at this time have paid staff. We're hoping to grow. Since we started in in 2008, our boots on the ground volunteer hours have been worth almost $175,000 to East Side cities. And that is not the contribution of board time, that's actual projects with volunteers. So we're real proud of the volunteers that come out and help pull noxious weeds. I think the reason that we were really successful with garnering volunteer labor was because I tied it to the schools. And the students are highly motivated to fulfill their community service hours. And those kids, I think, in Seattle School District, they are required to fulfill like 40 hours of community service before they graduate. So my son, who just got back from Antarctica last night, he flew in. He said it was warmer in Antarctica than it is here. It's summertime there. When he needed community service to graduate for his health class, and then there's one civics also requires community service. He had to go out of the area. And so we started brainstorming, how can we keep the kids in our community? How can we engage them in things that are fun and get them off the computer or out in the environment? And so the concept of the Weed Warriors was born. And the kids have turned out in droves to be out and get dirty and have fun. We've got on the website photos of all the different things that we do. If you can take a look at that, the photos are worth 1,000 words. We do all kinds of environmental projects. We put on events to engage kids and adults, and our boots on the ground projects vary from pulling ivy to clipping and digging blackberries, pulling out Scotch broom. You have to use a special weed wrench tool, and we borrow those from King County. We also do a fun project called Biological Control, which is using a bug called the cinnabar moth caterpillar that eats tansy. So we go out and find plants that have this bug and then transport it to different tansy sites. The kids love that. We also do GPSing of weed sites. Kids love technology. We inject with knotweed. Knotweed is really, really difficult. You can't dig it. If you dig it, you just break up the roots and it'll continue to grow. So we do use an herbicide with knotweed. That's the only time that we use herbicide. Everything else is manual labor with the tools that are owned by the community group or with the city. And with the funding that's available for projects within unincorporated King County, I'm hoping that we'll be able to assist this group and to also leave you with tools that you would have when the project's over. So my hope is that we can work together, we can engage the school kids, impress upon them that they are our future environmental stewards, get them involved with the environment and the local issues to see, you know, what it's all about. It's more than just getting dirty and pulling a weed. It's actually becoming a steward of the environment and caring about your community. And so it's another part, along with picking up litter and planting a rain garden. It's actually understanding that there's a battle out there, and it's an invasion of alien species that are taking over. And I just like to say, like Scotch broom, seeds are viable for 45 years. Blackberry, now I know once it goes to seed, you'll be pulling Scotch broom for a long time. Blackberries, the seeds are viable for like 8 to 15 years. So, you know, once they take hold, it's really tough to get a handle on it. And cities don't have the staffing to just go after the noxious weeds. So we feel like we really have a vital, important link to help the communities battle against noxious weeds. And I did print out a few pages from the website that tells what we do, who we are, and this is the cover page of the website. So if you don't have a computer at home, you're welcome to take these so that you can learn more about what we do. Does anybody have questions for me? Or?
Yeah, so have you, we talked about, a little bit about places in the community, and I really couldn't come up with some, but have you been in touch with the schools here, or how do you engage the kids to come out and help? How do you organize that?
I haven't yet with this district, but I will. How I approach the Bellevue School District and the Renton School District is to first present to their public relations person the program. And when we started in 2008, it was a monthly process. You know, they wanted to see all of the flyers with their disclosure, and it was about 6 months in, they realized that we were very serious, and so they've given us a blanket approval, so, which is nice. That expedited things quite a bit. So we work with the schools, our projects are embraced, the kids have received them well. I put pictures on so that it's really a testimony to what our young people are doing. And I encourage them to keep records of their volunteer service for the community. I say, when you go to fill out that resume or application for college or whatever, and they ask you what are your community service or your community ties, then they've got something. And I've had kids come back to me and say, I'm so glad you took those pictures because I could go back and give the dates of my service. And then I've had kids going off to college that have gone into environmental studies, and so that was, to hear those types of things are really rewarding. Yes?
Do you work with King County Parks?
Yes, in fact, on Class A noxious weed sites, some of them, like garlic mustard is a Class A, and it is so tricky because the sand, the seeds are like sand, and you have to really, really understand the process. A little more difficult to do those things with volunteers. You have to wash your boots and, you know, follow the protocol, and they usually use a spray herbicide. So we'll work with them in identifying the site, but getting volunteers out there, those things, it's usually a different, it's a staff.
Well, the reason I specifically mentioned because Darlene Sellers, who works here in the local park district, works with teenagers.
Yes, okay.
And so she might be a person that you would be able to work through and help with teens. We have plenty of areas in Point Center that I personally identified by just walking by them and saying, not weed being one of the big problems.
Yeah, and when you do that, my email is on the website, so, and I have my card over there too. If you just send me like the address, or if you could take a picture of it and send a picture to me too, that would be great. We try to set our calendar for the year when we know that we've got a big project coming up. So if you can give me heads up on what you'd like done, then we can definitely plan for that. Because that's what we're all about. We're here to help you get down those noxious weeds.
Yeah.
So you'll be at the Flower and Garden Show?
I volunteered there today. I was up at 7 o'clock to be there, and it's really good. It's a great show again. And the King County Noxious Weed Program is there with some of these and these brochures. So if you go they'll stop by and say Grace says hi.
Any more questions? That's really great. Thank you. So, yeah, we'll try to stay connected in the loop, and I know, and also Elizabeth works a lot, as she said, with the schools and the drug-free youth programs.
Yeah. Once the kids know about the projects that you have, they Facebook and tweet and let everybody know, hey, there's a community service project. And so once you get established, they'll advertise for you, which is really nice.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Bravo.
Get those weeds.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yeah. So, excuse me. So that's great. It's 8 o'clock. And so we'll move on. Committee reports. I just want to quickly start with, we did get a letter from the Public Disclosure Commission, and Ms. Chastine Edgar of Burien had filed a public disclosure complaint against us. This goes back to the 2012 election, and they were just getting to it. And this was on Newak's letter that we wrote urging a yes vote on Burien annexation. She wrote a public disclosure complaint saying that we violated, that we were acting as a PAC. In any event, they found no need to investigate it any further. It was completely dismissed. So that's good news. And the other 3 that she filed against us were also all dismissed. So all our public disclosure complaints are done. So,
Wonderful.
yeah, so that was good.
Can I ask what that was about, since I just barely joined this group and I haven't heard about it. I've been trying to follow the story of the annexation and I'm trying to understand where people sit on that and.
Yeah, well, the Burien vote was in 2012
Uh-huh.
for the rest of the unincorporated North Highline area, and we were in agreement with and supported the Burien annexation. This council did, but we weren't a PAC, and there was a separate People for Burien PAC, and the vote failed. And we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Seattle now as well, and how they're moving forward, because we're in what's called a potential annexation area still for both Burien and Seattle right now. But we can talk more after offline about it. Oh, yeah. But I don't know, Liz, if you want to talk about what's going on with Seattle.
Okay, on Monday next, the Seattle City Council is going to discuss and planning to vote on a resolution that would start the annexation process of what they're calling the Duwamish annexation area. It's the sliver by the river and the Dulce-Marine Triangle. Last year, Tukwila received a petition request from over 60% of the landowners in the Dulce-Marine area who want to become part of Tukwila. The Boundary Review Board did not allow them to go forward. So Seattle completely surrounds the sliver between South Park and Duwamish. And those people, I think around 100 voters, really feel like they're marooned and unrepresented. They want to be in Seattle. The landowners at the Dulce-Marine industrial area do not want to be in Seattle because the B&O tax will be so high, and they're worried about Seattle regulations. They think that Seattle is more focused on stadiums than manufacturing, and they don't like the way that sounds for them. The Delta Marine area, probably the most well-known property owner and business is the Delta Marine Yacht Company. So they have big ticket items that they sell.
Globally.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
over.
they're known around the world.
Yes, I think they, well, another issue. Okay, so Seattle has come up with this resolution. They advised the neighborhood, I think via the blog, White Center Now blog and the South Park blog, a week ago tomorrow, that they intended to present it. Yesterday, there was a committee meeting. The committee voted to move forward with this proposal. The North Highline Fire District was at that meeting and objected because there's real concern that losing the income from the Delta Marine area will put our already struggling fire department and district in worse shape. There was a lady from the Sliver who also spoke in public comment, and she wants to be in an area where she can vote for or against the people who make the decisions. I can understand that, you know? So, I think, and I hope the rest of the council does, that it's important that the city of Seattle maintain a conversation with us, or start a conversation with us. I think that 10 days notice that they were going to do this was totally out of line. I think to not have told our fire district, they were well aware of the financial effects and the problems that this has the potential to cause. So I've drafted a letter to ask them to, the bottom line is pretty much to include a commitment to work with the fire district in the process if they're going to go forward and to resolve the fire district's concerns, and to include a commitment to work with this council in the process. It needs a little bit more work, I think, but generally I think it gets the point across. Yeah.
Just curious, this is Delta Marine, is that in Fire District 1, like where?
It's our fire district.
North Highline Fire.
North Highline.
I see. Oh, I'm thinking of the other side of the river, down in Allentown, that's Fire District 1, yeah.
I don't know.
That's
But.
Oh, I
yeah.
see.
Well, on the resolution, where North Highline is mentioned in the resolution is that they agreed this with King County, if they were to pass the resolution to put it to a vote for the Sliver and Delta Marine, that they would continue to look at the annexation of the rest of North Highline, meaning us. Mm-hmm. That was part of the resolution, that they would continue that discussion. So, and I did go down to that meeting on Wednesday, and I think the council people are well aware that, you know, how the vote with Burien went, where it wasn't so much that people were opposed to Burien as they were opposed to any annexation. So they were well aware of the issue on that. They weren't like, well, they don't want Burien, they want us. So I don't know how they're going to move forward with us, but it's on the table, and apparently King County and Seattle have been having a lot of discussions that this community has been completely left out of.
So Ron, you're our liaison. How,
Barbara's talking to Karen Freeman, and she's the person, or whomever is talking to Karen Freeman, she's the person in charge of annexation.
Right, and we haven't been talking to Karen. Karen has not been in touch with us about anything. We knew nothing about it. We read it on the blog.
The fire district didn't know anything about it.
Right.
And the fire district opposed Tuckwilla's attempt last year for the very same reasons. To keep the rest of us safe, we need to have a budget.
I think I drafted a letter and just fired off to Karen Freeman. She's in charge of the annexation talks process. And just tell them that if you guys are talking to Seattle, we'd like to be involved in this, or let us know what's going on.
It's too late to do that. They did not give us enough time.
The vote is on
city-
Monday.
The vote's on
Yes.
Monday. They voted yesterday in the
The vote
committee.
to
They're gonna vote for
The resolution
for the
Seattle.
show.
to move forward with the boundary review board.
Yeah, but that's just for City Council of Seattle to go to the boundary review board.
That's the first step.
I understand this, but you know what happens when they go to the boundary review board. There's several conversations before the boundary review board decides on anything.
Yes, so we've drafted a letter, and we're going, a couple of us at least, to try to make that meeting. But we thought that the community deserves to know.
Yeah, I think.
I understand. I will pass that sentiment to Karen Freeman.
Yeah, Karen, we just haven't talked to her. We haven't had any communication. And it's not, I'm not being critical of her, but she gets a direction from above her as well. So I don't know what she's been directed to let us know.
Well, and that's why I asked, what did Bung know? Because I would have assumed, even just as a courtesy, that Dow's office would have said something to you as well as to us, that, you're the liaison, that you would have been kept informed.
I was in contact with the exec's office when I first learned about this. And they have been apparently holding conversations with Seattle that we did not know about. And they have been purely Seattle and King County. But the bottom line is, the resolution will be heard on Monday. I think we need to make sure that the council realizes that we should be included. It's important. And I think that it's reasonable to ask them to amend the resolution to include those two things. Include us in the process and include our fire district in the process.
And I think it should be CC to the exec's office and to Joe McDermott's office and
Yeah.
And the fire district, I didn't think
the
that.
fire district and maybe all the King County Council.
Yeah, I think it should go to the
members.
entire.
The letter is directed to all the King County.
No,
Oh,
it's
no,
Seattle.
Seattle, okay.
And Dow, I think it needs to go to Dow's office too, that they need to know that we will, we need to be in the loop.
We have to at least ask, You're not gonna get what you don't ask for. And we just would like a little respect. Thank you very much.
Well, I think it goes beyond respect. I think it's part of the democratic process. King County those are directly elected democratic officials. And for this area, that means that we need to have a voice at the table. Is Joe McDermott involved in those conversations? We don't even know. We haven't, and so, to me, that is like, I want to say, a betrayal of the civic trust, you know? That sounds kind of dramatic, but I mean, to start conversations and have conversations and not have even Joe McDermott at the table or someone from his office, and that his office would not be communicating with the residents and property owners in this community, it's...
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of implications for us in that resolution, and to be totally left out was not good.
Well, and I think that there's one of the things is that King County has indicated in the past that it would not allow annexation of part of North Line without all of North Highline.
And I was told by the county that they still hold that position, but when I watched the meeting yesterday, it sounded like the county would not cause too much trouble if Seattle committed in the resolution to work with them. But we were not included and the fire district wasn't included.
Just to ask Liz, what portion of the fire district's money comes out of Del Rey? It seemed like it's a pretty big percent, like 11% or 17% or something.
I don't remember what the percentage is, but it would be enough to make us have to lose at least one firefighter and maybe a staff person. And we are running so slim these days that by losing one firefighter, we lose a truck, I think, a third of the time. So, you know, that's serious.
Well, they said it was, I think the dollar amount was $150,000.
Somewhere around there, plus there would be what they call an asset transfer that takes place when another entity takes over your land. They get a percentage of your assets. So we would also lose probably some of our reserves, and we don't have many folks. The fire district has this serious problem before this happened.
I mean, it just seems to me it's mind-boggling that as a matter of public safety, that wouldn't be a primary consideration. Emergency medical services and fire safety, you know, and then you have the issue of democracy.
Yeah.
Well, I understand that the CDA summit on March 1st, they have a section in there where they're having a discussion on annexation. Do you know anything about that one? Are they going to have any county representatives there?
Not that I know of. My understanding is, I'm not really sure if Karen Freeman's going to be there. But I know that she was contacted about it.
No. Okay. Yeah, it would just be interesting, I mean, why, you know, we're left out of this. But in any event, so Liz had drafted the letter. Did everybody get a chance to read the letter?
Yeah. I
You wanna
move that we send this letter tomorrow, so they have it. Yes, with a
Yeah, there's a couple of
fine,
things.
yeah, fine-tuning things, because it really has to be sent tomorrow for these people listed to receive it before their Monday meeting.
Anyone second? Anyone second the motion?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And all, okay. None opposed? No? Okay. So we will send this, we'll get this letter out. And I also, I'm going to make the meeting on behalf of the council and speak at the meeting if there's anyone opposed to that, or? Okay. Okay. I think. Is that it on the? Annexation is not dead.
And so, Vaughn,
Yeah.
will you be at that meeting?
No. That's next Monday?
It's Monday at 2. I believe it's at 2 o'clock. It's
Yeah.
full.
I think Alan will probably be there.
Well, you know, that's the same day that King County Council and Dow are coming to White Center.
Oh, okay, we're gonna be here.
So it's interesting that they're voting on that.
It's 10 in the morning.
But then they're
White
having the
Center.
council meeting.
In the afternoon, yeah.
I think it's right
Where
after.
is
Oh,
that?
the county council, I'm sure will be right.
It's
This is
at
the
White
city of
Center.
Seattle,
Yes.
right? Okay, yeah. They can meet anytime they want. It has nothing to do with King County Council's meeting.
Oh, I know that.
So,
It's
yes.
just,
So
I
I don't
know.
know if it
Popular
was.
day.
Yeah, it's just interesting
Okay.
that.
What time is the King County meeting at?
Well, Dow's gonna do his state of the county at 10, I believe, and then the council is having, I believe their meeting is right after that,
Yeah,
at the
it's
school.
At the school. Open to public.
Is anyone here gonna be able to go to that?
I think I can.
Okay, yeah, we need somebody to be there and to represent and to hear. To listen real well, let us know. Any more discussion on, or comments? Okay, so we'll get that letter cleaned up and we'll get it out. Any other committee reports? All right, so we'll just move on. As far as new business, March meeting, we have Lloyd Hara, the King County Tax Assessor, set up for March. Right now, that's all I have on the agenda for March, I believe.
Sterling.
I believe we talked about, especially with Doreen, about possibly by March, there'll be a little more update on the marijuana rules that are being worked out by the Liquor Control Board. Maybe we can get an update.
Okay, yeah. Do you want to follow up with that?
Yes.
Why don't you work on
Yeah.
that? The other thing, just going back to the marijuana issue, there were lots of applicants for recreational marijuana sales with addresses of all in the downtown business district. My understanding is that still it is zoned out for any recreational marijuana sales, the whole of downtown White Center. So none of those applications should go through for recreational sales. And there, which will be interesting to hear from the board, but the other issue is that the dispensary, the medical marijuana are gonna come under some regulation, and we might lose a few of those places. What a loss. And Burien passed they voted to allow the zoning at certain parts of the city for recreational and processing. Their one Burien council member, Debbie Wagner, noted that she voted against it and said, well, people can go to White Center to get their marijuana. They didn't need it in Burien. So, yeah, it was very nice of her to promote her.
Yes.
So then we're going to have the April forum. If you can get the word out on this, we're having people from the King County Equity and Social Justice Initiative, 2 folks, to come and speak on that. And then also Joe McDermott has committed to come and talk about it. And I'm also working on the public health department to see if we can get someone there to talk about, the demographic issues for the area and the impacts that has on the community. So it should be, we want to get that promoted, do some good work on that, and try to get flyers done early, and we try to get the word out and get as many people here. It's a big topic. As we have to discuss about space, if we want to do it here or somewhere else, so we have a few things going on in that. And then I have, Pat, that I did just shoot an email out, because I figured May would be a good time for the people to talk about the ASARCO issue, and that they're giving out soil testing kits, and so I did line somebody up for May to come and talk about that. And then June, we have another forum in June. Possibly. That's with the fire district, or?
That would be great.
Yeah. So we got things in the works. So we'll be meeting. Yes.
When you're done with the, I do have one item.
Okay, I'm done.
Oh, brilliant.
Good timing.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Earlier today, I met with Dick and Friends of Victor Lake and staff, and they are applying again for this grant to get aerators for the Victor Lake. Right? They did apply the last time, the last round, and they didn't make it. Now we've got other folks involved, and we have a better insight on how to write this grant. And we're gonna try again to apply for this. So we'd like the community's endorsement
Of
or a
course.
letter from you guys.
Oh, sure.
To add to the application.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yes, of course. If you would just send me who I should be sending it to, just shoot me an
Sherry,
email.
Sherry would.
Yeah, send it to Sherry.
Sherry, Williams, yeah.
Okay.
She's heading up the committee,
Sherry from town?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, certainly, we'll get that done right
Yeah,
away.
we had, Don Hauser, he's a managing engineer of surface water at the meeting also. He's going to send, basically, I guess what they turned us down for was because we were not clear enough how the water got from Highline Lake into Puget Sound. Come on.
Okay, really, wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it flows downhill.
I had a question about the lineup for the next, somebody from the tax assessor's office coming. One of the, and I'm not quite sure how this relates, but one of the issues that I've noticed is that with some of the problems in White Center is that there are property owners, commercial property owners, residential property owners that don't care for their property or have questionable renting, leasing practices and things like that. And I'm not sure if that might be an issue that could, because their property owners are subject to property tax, whether there's something like that could somehow segue into the tax assessor's office. I mean, just like swim and rain gardens and noxious weeds, somehow they connect. That I'm thinking that there might be, the Britain ended the slave trade by putting a marine tax on cargo. And so it somehow with the tax assessor coming, it seems like, maybe there's a way, and you get the mafia for tax evasion. So maybe there's a way that taxes can be somehow used to promote social good and change.
Yeah, what is that?
What are you thinking, Paul? And then the other that I neglected to announce during the announcement time that coming up next week, I believe, there's the transit group, community transit group, along with Seattle and King County, is going to be having their public meeting on changes to Roxbury and the traffic flow at Greenbridge. And then later in the month, I think it's going to be somewhere on the Seattle side near Roxhill Elementary. And this all started out because of concerns with the traffic at Roxhill, but one of the issues that they're supposed to address is the intersection by Safeway in Roxbury, and then also the 5-way intersection at 16th and Roxbury and Delridge, and then also the intersection, I don't know whether it's 4th or the one below that, it's the one below that,
It's okay.
Myers Way.
Well, that is where it goes into,
In Fourth, you're
Well.
Yeah,
or-
where there's where there's accidents,
Oh,
Yeah.
coming up from Olson Way, yeah,
yeah, Olson.
yeah, yeah.
Olson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, so if
What
I
date is
get, I'm not sure,
Oh,
but it's
okay.
sometime this month.
okay, okay,
To
good.
be exact, so, if I get that information to you, can that, we can put it out on the website or put it
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
notes or something?
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
spread the word.
And, you know, there's gonna be a, special election for another tax for, King County Metro. It's probably coming up quickly, because there's gonna be some, if it doesn't go through, there's gonna be some really major, big time cuts. Metro that the city wouldn't be good for the city region at all, so that's something that's gonna be coming up. But anyway, I think, anything else? We're done?